Welcome back, everybody. Sarcasm Speaks, Jared and Bob here. We have a loser lap to take right out of the gate. So it should be old news at this point, but because it happened a couple days ago, but we haven't recorded since. And OJ Simpson kicked the bucket. So that's that's a tough one. I'm also surprised. I looked back because I was curious if anyone had ever taken him in the death pool. And I was like, I feel like someone did, but I mean, unless the one year, what was the one year we did it in 2020? I don't think I wrote anything down. But I went back to 2021 that I have records of in my phone. Um, and no one has ever taken OJ Simpson as long as we've been doing it. But he's gone now. Hopefully the real killer will come forward and let everyone know. Although probably not, because then he would still go to jail anyway. So at least the real killer can rest easy, knowing that OJ's not still trying to track him down. So, because did you ever see the stuff where OJ was like, "Oh yeah, no, I won't go to LA anymore because the real killer's there, and I'm afraid he's gonna find me."
No, I mean, I didn't really keep up much with like what OJ Simpson was doing,
Yeah.
just in
Um,
general.
so to be fair, right? Great, all-time great football player. One of the best. Shout out to Nikos, friend of the show. He's been on a few times. Big OJ Simpson fan on the field. Off the field, obviously, everyone knows the deal, right? Arguably, one of the most, if not the most, famous or infamous trials of our generation, right? I would say it's probably up there with like Watergate and Epstein, right? Even though Epstein never really came to fruition. OJ's probably bigger than Epstein, right? And then it's probably not as big as Watergate, but
It's hands down the biggest.
yeah.
It has to be. I mean, the everything, the police chase, Johnny Cochran, all of it.
Yeah, I would say of the last 35 years, right? Since 1990, it's the biggest. That's what I like if you get back, well, I would say when was Watergate? Was that like 77
It was in the
or
70s.
something? Yeah, 77, 78. So I would say since 1980, it's probably the biggest case. Like law case, lawsuit, whatever you want to call it, in the country. So, although Johnny Depp and Amber Heard is probably up there, believe it or not,
No, not
because
like this. Not
well,
like
no, not
this.
like that, not like that, but I mean like it's up there. It's probably in top five in the last 30 years. Um, just because of all the press that it got, and it got like a whole, was it like a Netflix special or like a Hulu special they did on it? It was like a whole thing. Um,
See this way, when you were 15 years old, you probably could have told me at least about OJ Simpson, maybe about the Bronco, maybe, right?
yeah, the slow chase, right?
Like whatever it was. If I ask a 15-year-old right now about Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, they'll have no clue.
Yeah, that's fair. They'll probably just know it was a
They'll have
trial that
no,
happened.
they might not even know who the two people are.
It's potential.
So, I mean, the OJ one was way bigger.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm not saying that it's bigger than
No,
OJ.
no,
I'm
no, but I
saying
mean,
it's up there.
so, I mean, I don't think there's like, now, obviously, we weren't alive for Watergate, and Watergate obviously involved a sitting president,
Right.
but I don't even think Bill Clinton's trials were as big as the OJ one.
Probably not.
I mean, they were like similar-ish years, I think, plus or minus.
Yeah. OJ was
Because
what,
he was
94,
495.
94, and I think the Clinton stuff was 97 because it was in his second term.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like similar-ish time, but
Yeah.
that OJ one got like all the coverage.
Yeah, and I mean it created the Kardashians.
Stop. Just stop.
I you're gonna say it didn't?
I am gonna say it didn't. You know what created the Kardashians? The fucking sex tape. That's it. No one gave a flying fuck about any Kardashian or fucking Jenner since whenever he won the fucking
Yeah, the decathlon.
decathlon.
Yeah.
No one gave a shit about them until one of them was fucking shopping for Paris Hilton and then made a fucking sex tape with a rapper no one ever heard of. And then it took off from there.
Yeah, but I think it got juice because it was OJ's lawyer's kid. Like if it was just some random not like at that time you wouldn't even call her celebrity, right? Like there's a D-list celebrity, if that. Like if it was some other random D-list celebrity whose last name was not Kardashian, they never would have blew up.
I think it was the Paris Hilton's assistant that kind of, for me, so in my opinion, because I've been over this argument before. People, the old joke used to go, why is Kim Kardashian famous? And they're like, oh, her father was on the OJ case. It's like, well, that's why he's famous. Why is
Yeah.
she famous? It's like, oh well, her mother's married to Bruce Jenner. And it's like, okay, why is that important? Well, he won the decathlon. What's okay, so that's why he's famous. And people, because like this was like the thing, like fans of the Kardashians didn't want to say it was because it was that sex tape that put it over the top.
Right.
But I think whatever that Paris Hilton show was, I think was big enough at the time that when she then put that sex tape out, I think I'm fairly certain that that's kind of what I think it was those two events like combined that kind of did it because also there was some rumors that Paris Hilton was behind the scenes. There was some rumors that it was just her mother. I don't know, whatever. I don't give a fuck. Um, but if she was just the daughter of the lawyer in the OJ case that was now dead because I don't know when he died, but long dead. That would kind of only be relevant to people who were not involved, invested in that OJ case. Because like
Right.
when we were kids, we would have no idea who her father was. I don't even know his name. Um,
Rob Kardashian.
yeah, and then it's like one of these. It's just one of these weird things where people who really like the show just like refuse to acknowledge the impact of that sex tape, and it's like I don't know how it was like it was a really odd like kind of hill to argue on because you weren't dying on that hill, but like it's a really weird arguing perspective because it happened, it exists. Like there's no arguing that it didn't exist or it's not her, whatever. It's out there.
Right.
And they're like, no, 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 it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It's like, yes, it was. And truthfully, it took her from a nobody to a fucking. Is she a billionaire yet? She has to be, right?
Probably. I don't know. I know her sister is. So she's probably not.
Okay, so
Whichever sister has the makeup line
a
is a
many,
billionaire.
many a millionaire.
Yeah.
And all you had to do was have sex on camera. Like,
Yeah.
people don't even care anymore.
Yeah.
I don't even think people cared that much in the first place.
No, no. But I mean, you could make the argument, right? And you don't have to go like super deep into this, but you could make the argument that it's because he was OJ's lawyer that opened up the celebrity door, right? Like I didn't even know that she was Paris Hilton's assistant at the time. Like I literally just found that out when you said that a minute and a half ago.
Yeah, whatever
Um,
that show was,
but
whatever Paris Hilton
if
show was, I
she
forget what it
if
was.
she was not the daughter of OJ Simpson's lawyer, she doesn't have access to celebrity, right? Because there's plenty of defense attorneys all across the country that defend alleged murderers, right? But there was only one that defended OJ. So, I mean, I guess if you want to get into it, it could turn into eventually a chicken and an egg situation. But I think that the fact that her father was OJ's lawyer, and obviously the crux of this is that OJ got off, right? If if Robert Kardashian takes that case and OJ goes to prison, no one ever speaks about the name Kardashian ever again. It just doesn't happen, right? The reason why he became a celebrity himself as a lawyer was he got OJ off on that case when they basically had him dead to rights. But by some stretch of a piece of leather glove, right? Or inability to stretch, you should say, he got him off. So I think it's a like a culmination of a lot of things there. But to be fair, right, to your original point, is the only the fact that he was the lawyer the why she's famous? No, you're right. It was the sex tape. But if her father is not Rob Kardashian who wins that case, is anyone even in that position to begin with? I don't know.
Really,
Truthfully,
I
I
don't know.
don't
I don't
know,
know how she
right?
got tied in with Paris Hilton.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have some sort of celebrity tie, right, to get
Also,
there. And if her father is a regular old defense attorney, probably not gonna get in with Paris Hilton, right?
also, you better start fucking respecting Johnny Cochran and his Star Wars defense, the Chewbacca defense, or I'm gonna fucking slap you through this computer.
So to be fair, I don't even know what that is. I know nothing really about the actual case
Oh, Johnny. So okay, so
other than the glove didn't fit.
to be fair, like leaving that trial, and I know, and obviously I know this from South Park. Johnny Cochran's the one that came out on top as the defense lawyer. So Johnny Cochran, uh, he was, I mean, he was also a defense lawyer. Again, I don't know like all the proceedings of the Kardashian guy and Johnny Cochran, like whatever. But uh South Park made fun of him for the Chewbacca defense because I don't know what it was, but like in the South Park episode, he would go on like this big long diatribe about like Chewbacca like living on a planet of Ewoks and he's a 7 foot tall Wookiee living with a bunch of Ewoks. That doesn't make sense. And if that doesn't make sense, then this trial doesn't make sense. And like it was like this whole thing. So I don't know what his actual tactics were.
Yeah.
Um, but I know he was also involved with a lot of the police brutality stuff before OJ. So probably stemming from Rodney King. I don't know if he was Rodney King's lawyer. I don't know. I could look it up on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Probably not going to. Um, but yeah, I don't know what his tactics were, but they were subject to a South Park joke using the Chewbacca defense.
That's funny. I didn't know that. Like I wasn't a huge South Park guy. Like I watch it occasionally, but I didn't know that. And like I said, I mean, I was way too young to know anything about the OJ trial other than like the highlights that people talk about now, right? Like the white Bronco, the slow speed chase, the glove doesn't fit, like those things, right? Like, you know, the alleged it was OJ's son and OJ was just covering for him. Um, but like that's what I don't know any of the actual details of the case, right? Because I was like 3 years old when it happened.
So I just went to his Wikipedia really fast. So Johnny Cochran's the one who said if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Then obviously, you know, the glove didn't.
Right.
Um, this is also, I mean, it's just the Wikipedia thing. And then yeah, so that's why Johnny Cochran's like the or again, I don't know what the involvement of each and every lawyer was. I'm sure there was a fucking SWAT team of them. Um, but that was the thing is eventually Johnny Cochran was the one who came into like the public eye. So it's weird if you really want to trace it back. I guess it just kind of depends. Like if you paid attention to the case and you knew who the lawyers were, you might know that her father was a lawyer. I didn't even know who she was. Well, and truthfully, like whenever I mean, we were in high school when that sex tape came out. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know who Ray J was,
Right.
and I didn't know why anyone gave a fuck. And then it was like, oh well, you know, it's Paris Hilton's assistant. It's like, who gives a fuck?
Right.
Because at that
Right.
time, I also was like, who gives a fuck about Paris Hilton too?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's another one. If you want to play that logical leap, it's like, oh well, she's the granddaughter of the Hilton hotel person. It's like, okay, well that's why he's famous. So what the fuck does she do?
Yeah.
But and then she gets a TV show from being a fucking
A space
like
cadet.
OG party girl, and then it exposed her for being a dumbass. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Mid 2000s was really stupid,
It really was when you go back,
really
like
dumb,
some of like the most popular things from the mid 2000s, right? Like they are just flat out dumb, right? Like
very.
Jackass, as entertaining as Jackass was, right? And I enjoyed it, right? I still do occasionally. Really dumb, really stupid. Like the big thing then too also was the backyard wrestling craze, right? Like because that was
Mhm.
early internet. So those videos that would be on the early internet of kids literally fucking dying, right? They're like jumping off of their garage onto a table that's lit on fire, and they're not from Buffalo, so they can't handle it. And it's they literally die, like they're like breaking each other's faces. It's like, holy shit, like what is going on? Paris Hilton, dumb. Kardashian, dumb. Right? Like what else came out of like the mid 2000s that was just stupid? Like there was a lot of just dumb shit.
Well, it's like also well, so it was also the reality TV craze, right?
Yeah, Jersey Shore. Yep.
Yeah, a little bit later, but
This
even before that, it was like fuck, Jay Cutler's ex-wife,
oh,
uh, Lauren Conrad. What the fuck was that
yeah,
show?
the OC.
But no, I think
Or
that
was
was
the
the
OC a
that.
spin-off of whatever the original show
No, I think
was?
the OC was a drama show on
Oh,
like some
yeah,
other
that
channel.
it was a drama that was made to look like a reality show.
Um, Laguna Beach.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so like that was a
So I think
reality show.
Laguna Beach was the original. I think the OC was a spin-off of Laguna Beach or vice
Okay, I'm
versa.
fairly certain the OC was like a separate. I'm about to fucking call her down here. I feel like the OC was a separate like drama series. I don't think the OC was a reality show.
Okay. But I thought one of them
The Hills,
was a
The
drama.
Hills.
Oh, The Hills. That's
That was
okay.
Lauren
Yeah.
Conrad's show
Okay. Okay.
when
Okay.
she moved or whatever.
Yeah, because I knew there was one show that was a drama, but it was made to look like a reality show. And like kids
I think
our
that would
age at the time in middle school or high
I
school,
think that would
wherever
have
we
been the OC.
were like blown away that like, wait, it's not a reality show? Wait, this is scripted, but it looks like a reality show.
Well, never mind. Like Laguna Beach, oh, a reality show written by. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
they fucking got us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you had a lot of the reality shit in the mid 2000s, which again, that's Paris Hilton not only whatever her show was, then who was her show with uh Nicole Richie?
Yes. Yep.
Like they had their own show.
Where they were both morons.
Yeah. The music was weird. Like it was a lot of Good Charlotte at first, and then it moved into like My Chemical Romance.
Yeah. Green Day, even though technically Green Day's been around since
They're
like the
more like
80s, haven't they?
90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would lump them more 90s. Um,
Yeah, good Charlotte. God. Third Eye Blind.
yeah, right at the
They were
turn, Third Eye
yeah, they were
Blind.
like late 90s, early aughts.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a weird time. Like
Yeah.
you had not really famous people becoming famous for literally no reason.
Yeah. Kid Rock.
Yeah, but that's the thing. At least Kid Rock was a actual musician that sold albums.
Yeah.
I still don't know why Paris Hilton. Well, she had a sex tape too. I mean, it's very simple. It's like
That's fair.
that was the formula to two of the biggest people or the biggest probably female personality, which is absolutely embarrassing to any talented actress or musician. But the biggest female personality of like the mid 2000s and then the late 2000s.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah. That's pretty dumb.
It was a weird time, man. Like
It was a really weird time because it was like
clothes were
that
weird, the
very
music was
beginning.
weird.
It was also the very beginning of like this new age technology, right? So like there's always been technology, right? There we had everyone's like, "Oh, the cell phone, the cell phone." Dude, cell phones were invented in the 80s, right? Like cell phones were not a new thing. Like the iPhone was new in 2008, and that's when things started to like really shift. But like cell phones existed. Like I had a cell phone when I was in middle school. I had a flip phone.
Sidekick,
I started out with the Nokia brick phone, right? Like
Snake.
the prepaid, like I had whatever minutes I got like,
Yep.
30 minutes a month or something like that. And it's like my parents gave me the phone because I was always out. And just in case I needed to call home for whatever reason, they were like, here's a Nokia brick phone or like the Motorola brick phone, whatever it was. Like, go nuts, right? But it was like, oh no, my minutes. I'm gonna go over my minutes. um, but yeah, it was a weird time because it's like that's when things started to shift, right? Because then you have also social media too. So it was like Twitter was 2007, I think. Um, I mean, MySpace was obviously before that, and MySpace kind of probably kicked it all off. Um, I think Facebook technically started in like '05, but it was still only at like Harvard. I think it didn't get big until like '08-ish. Um,
I mean, it was fairly big when I was in high school. So if it started in '04, it was probably semi big by '07.
yeah, yeah. Instagram was later. I don't think Instagram came until we were in college. I think it was 2012 was when it was first invented or like, came out. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's when things start to really kind of get weird because then people are just like always using their phones for like a bunch of shit, right? Like we talk about now, like you make the joke, oh, if only there was a way to find an infinite resource of information somewhere at your fingertips, right? To answer any question that you might have. And it's like, well, yeah, we have that now. We didn't have that in 2004, right? We didn't have that in
Oh,
2006.
I was actually explaining this to the kids. I mean, at this rate, they were born probably like 2010, 2011. Like the kids I specifically had that day, they were
Yeah,
definitely born after '08,
right.
which when I graduated high school, I think everyone in that group. And I go, all right, so you wanted to listen to music on the fly. You used to have to carry this big thing that held a CD.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, oh, you wanted to
That
take
had a certain length cord, right? So if you already had your CD player in your pocket, right, and you're trying to ride
yeah,
your
the headphones
bike
are
and
too
listen to
short.
music, the cord you couldn't stand up all the way on your bike because the cord would pull out.
Yeah.
Like
Plus
the
the
amount of
headphones
times
were
that
always like
happened.
going one ear, one whatever.
Yep, yep,
If you wanted to take a video of something, you needed a separate device, video camera.
yep.
Usually it had some type of tape.
Yeah, you needed a video camera, a photography camera, and a phone if you wanted to take a video, take a picture, or call someone.
Yep. But if you
Now it's
wanted a
all
video,
one thing.
but if you wanted to watch a video, you needed a TV for that.
Right, right.
If you wanted to look something up, you needed a computer for that.
Yep.
Like you used to need effectively a whole office worth of stuff to do
Yeah,
what one cell phone does today.
right.
You needed a watch if you needed a clock. You needed calculator if you needed to do math. Like,
You needed a book, an address book if you needed phone numbers, right? Like
yep.
that's where the Rolodex and the little black book and all those sayings come from is
Hunty
people
Chris brought
literally
that
had
up.
those.
So Cunty Chris was like one of the last people because when we went to Augusta, we were like, oh, I'm like, right before I left the room, I was like double checking. I'm like, okay, I got Michaela's number down.
Yeah, you got to write it on a piece of paper.
And he goes, in high school, he goes, I used to have a paper of numbers. He goes, because I didn't have a cell phone. I was still expected to be able to call people. He goes, and there's no way I was going to remember them all.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, I used to have paper and numbers. He goes, he goes, the next time you see any of my buddies from high school, he goes, ask them about the paper and numbers. They'll start dying.
That's funny. But yeah, I mean that's what life was like. Now it's literally all in one thing, right? If you wanted to play a video game, you needed a TV and a console and a cartridge, right? Specifically for that one game. Now you can just download a game and play whatever you want on your phone. Right? If you wanted information, you had to go and either go to the library and check out a book or like find an encyclopedia and hope you had the right volume. Like it was very different.
It was fucking shitty, is what it was.
Yeah, it is actually pretty
But I
shitty.
mean, so it's like, so that's the problem now that everyone takes for granted. Like people who went through it or people who don't.
Yeah. A map quest, that was a fun one.
Yeah,
You
printing
had to print you
directions.
had to print out the directions and try and fucking read them while you were
Yeah.
driving, or you had to read them to the person that was driving.
You could have your own separate GPS device though.
Yeah, that's true too. The TomTom,
Cell phone,
that was
GPS
big.
device. Like every app in your phone used to be a separate entity.
Yeah, basically. A
Um,
calculator, right? You need to have a physical calculator.
yep, you wanted to place a bet, you had to go to a bookie.
Yeah.
Beeper.
Yep.
I never had a beeper, but that was
Yeah,
after
I
me.
didn't I didn't either.
My father used to have one for work,
Yeah,
but
my dad did too.
um he actually had a beeper for work like relatively late into it. Like later than you'd think. Um so yeah, I mean it's funny because we went through that and like our generation still probably takes that for granted, like how hard it was to find. Like I distinctly remember I was at my buddy's house. Can't remember the kid's name. I remember where we lived. And we were working on a project. And I'm fairly certain that it just so happens, and we'll get fucking flagged for this. I had to do a report on Israel. Now, it wasn't anything, it was just the history of.
Yeah.
And I remember
So you
trying to
mean
sit there.
before all the wars when it was peaceful over there?
Yeah, because that existed.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the place was founded on war. And like trying to find info. I had some like encyclopedia disc.
I
And
remember those.
yeah, and it was like, here's Israel. And it was like
Yeah,
fucking
shit. What
a
was that called?
thousand words on the history of Israel. I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? And it's like you go to the library and it's like, oh, do you have anything on Israel? And they're like,
Encarta.
yep,
That's what it was. That was the encyclopedia disc. It was like 4 or 5 discs.
yep.
Yeah, it was the Encarta. I remember that.
And then it was like you go to the library, it's like, oh, do you have anything on Israel? And it's like the Bible, and I'm like, no, like the country or whatever they are, republic. And then it's like, uh, not really. I'm like, cool. So now, literally, how the fuck am I supposed to figure this out? And then it was like you had to go find like another book that like covered multiple countries. See, is Israel in there? And then it's like, what a fucking pain in the ass this is.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you just go to Google, type it in, and you
Yeah, you can
have
figure out whatever you want, but then it's
literally
like
infinite resources.
now it's like you can't do, but now everything has to be a fucking travesty, Walter. Like look up Israel and then, just want to know what year it was founded. And it's like Israel's bad because of this. But
Yeah.
no, it's not bad. It's good because of this. It's like that's not what I was fucking looking for. Just give me a fucking year.
Yeah. It's kind of nuts.
Yep.
Like I remember answering machines, right? Like you would have to like
Yep, that was another one.
that
Voicemail's a
was another
separate
thing.
separate
Yeah.
machinery. Call
Voicemail
waiting
was
used to be a
separate.
separate
Yep.
machine. At my
Yep.
mother's house, there's still the Bell Atlantic call waiting thing. And the only reason I haven't thrown it out yet is because I don't know if all the wires run through it to
Yeah.
get to the landline.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I mean, like you said, a flashlight, right? Like you would have to own like an actual flashlight.
Well, it's funny. I needed one yesterday too. So this is even better. So you need a flashlight, right?
Hmm.
I needed one to look under the porch, and the cell phone not even remotely strong enough, right?
Hmm.
So I go downstairs. Oh, found one. Batteries are in it. Dead. Found another one. No batteries in it because you couldn't put the batteries in it because then it would die. So then it's like, where the fuck are the batteries? And then I'm like, you know what? I don't fucking care anymore. Like that's how it used to be.
Yeah, yeah,
What the fuck? Flashlight.
yeah. I'm just looking at my apps right now to see, like my car, right? Like I can start my car from an app.
I haven't got that far yet.
That's kind of nuts. So you could do all your banking
Yeah, I
on your
mean,
apps.
you
I mean,
used to
we
have
talked
to.
about
We
that
talked about this yesterday,
yesterday.
but yeah, you used to have to write down all of the transactions that you
Yeah,
made
and you would have to
and
like
rec
balance your checkbook.
and reconcile that against the balance.
Yeah,
And yes, you could go to the bank and get a balance, but you also had that book. Do you remember those books?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
every time you withdrew or deposited, they'd stamp in the book.
yeah. Yep, I remember that. The passbook. I think they
Yeah,
called it at Citizens when I had an
yeah.
account there.
They got rid of those. Thank
Yep.
God.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing too, is it's like I do get a kick out of people. It's like they're teaching these kids in school this shit, but they don't teach them how to balance a checkbook. Okay. As much as I
Yeah.
agree with you as the other thing's useless, quote unquote, balancing a checkbook is equally as useless now. So you need
Right.
to teach them math, like what overdrafting is, and you can't spend more than you have. Like,
Right.
you do need to teach them that. But I mean, not for nothing. Like, I have to. So I'm like one of the unique people. Like, I have to like reconcile bank accounts for work. Well, I print out the account summary and then I pull it up on the screen and I go, well, number one, is this a legitimate purchase? Yes. Is it recorded on the profit loss or the expense register? Yep. Good. Cross it out. Then I go to the next one. Cross it out. Cross it out. Cross it out. Cross it out. Do I do that with the credit card? No, it automatically goes.
Right.
Like some of that stuff has made our lives significantly easier. But my mother still writes down like every transaction.
Yeah, mine too.
She writes down every transaction based off what she sees online. It's amazing. And the only reason I write down our check stuff is because you need the check number if a check has gone MIA. So I do write our checks down in the checkbook register, but
Right.
um that's only so that I can track it down if I need to.
Right. Right. Yeah, that part makes sense.
Yeah, because you
Mm.
if you don't have the check, like, so say I send a rent check and they're like, "Hey, haven't got rent yet." I'm like, "Oh fuck." So I have to like cancel the check. I can't go to the bank and say, "Oh, I need to cancel a check." And they're like, "Well, which one?" I go,
Yeah, which one?
the one for rent." And they're like, "What the fuck you talking number?"
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you don't have the number, you're fucked.
Right. Right.
Um but yeah, I don't even know the last time I wrote a check.
Yeah. Same. Probably someone's wedding. Well, even though for a wedding, I probably just gave cash
Yeah. Couldn't even tell you. I mean, I was paying my golf club membership by check for a while, but then they switched to
online.
ACH. Yeah, because it was your
Yeah.
options were pay in person, or I mean, pay either cash in person, send a check, or pay with a credit card. But there was like a 3% fee, so I was sending the check,
Hmm.
and then they switched to like an ACH or a debit, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
Stupid.
just way easier.
Yeah.
Newspaper is another one I just thought of.
Yeah,
Like if
your news
you used
used to
to have to get
be.
your newspaper delivered every morning,
Yep.
which was like a job
Or you'd have to
for
go get it.
kids, right? Yeah, or you would have to go to like one of the boxes, right, and drop in like 10 cents and
Yeah.
pull out a newspaper. There was also the honor system, right? Because you could
Well, yeah,
put
because
in
you could take the whole stack.
you could take the whole stack if you wanted. Um, but yeah, I mean that used to be a job for teenagers, right? Is delivering newspapers. I never did it, but Like I do people had that job, right? You would just ride around on your bike and deliver newspapers at 4:30 in the morning.
You ever pop the newspaper things open?
Now,
No. Well, do they even exist now?
yeah, I don't think so. They may be in like train stations, I feel like.
It
But
would, yeah, but it's probably at like a stand or something. Like it's probably
yeah,
not the machine. No, so
right.
the but like because the way it used to go, you put the money in, you push the
And you
button, it would
push the
unlock
button.
it, and then
Yeah.
you'd open the latch.
Yeah.
Well, if you pulled the latch and hit the button hard enough at the same time, it would just pop open.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But the funniest thing is, it's like I don't know who showed me that. It was probably when I went to like I used to do camps with like the Arlington Boys and Girls Club, and we
Yeah.
would go to Boston frequently, or at least we would like roam around Arlington frequently. One of them probably showed me how to do it. So I used to go around just like popping them open. But I'm like, well, I don't need a newspaper, so I'm not gonna
Yeah.
take it.
Right. Right.
I'm not gonna carry this fucking thing around. So yeah, I mean, I used to have the ability to pop open the I don't even know, not even a machine.
Yeah,
What
the
it was.
newspaper box. I don't
I
even know
don't
what you
know.
would call it.
Yeah,
But they
could
were
pop them
everywhere.
open. I could pop them open, but I didn't never took anything.
They were always like at bus stops outside of like Dunkin' Donuts. Like they were just all over they were everywhere.
Yeah. Well, it used to be. I mean, again, it used to make a lot more sense, but now it just doesn't.
Yeah.
Nothing's even in print anymore.
I know. I know.
Like my mother, like I saw a newspaper on the table yesterday when I was at my mother's. I'm like, what the fuck?
Like, what are you doing?
And don't get me wrong. Like I actually used to like going through the sports section, but like, and that's probably up to 2012 when I stopped living there. But the idea of like me either scheduling a newspaper delivery or going to purchase one is a fucking insane
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of like thought. Because even like I go to the mobile to get coffee every morning. There's no newspaper machine. There's no newspapers for sale. But like 20 years ago, I'm 90% sure there would have been one, if not two, newspaper boxes outside.
Oh yeah, absolutely. At least probably either the Globe or the Herald, and then whatever the local Gazette is, right? Whatever it's called. The
Whatever,
Sun Chronicle or whatever the fuck it
whatever,
is for
the
around here.
Brockton
Oh yeah, the
Enterprise.
Brockton Enterprise. Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah, I
Brockton
forgot Easton
Enterprise.
Borders, Brockton, so that's what they would use. I think the Sun Chronicle is around here. It's like Attleboro, Norton, North Attleboro, Plainville, maybe. Rentham might be included in that too. It's like, yeah, it's the local, like whatever 6 or 7 towns around you. We had the Medford Mercury when we were growing up.
In the transcript, did we have two?
We might have had two actually. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Because Medford
Yeah.
Transcript was definitely a thing. It used to come on
Yeah.
Thursdays.
Yeah, that's right. I do remember the transcript. Yeah, so
I
there was
remember I
two
remember
in
the
Medford.
Mercury. What was the Mercury? I remember
It was
people
red.
saying that.
It was always the top like was red and then it's Medford Mercury was in blue. I have no idea how I remember that, by the way. I'm fucking retarded.
Well, because I
I'm
remember
literally autistic.
the old people used to come in to Stop and Shop, like, oh, can I get the Mercury?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you can get whatever you want. It's on that rack over there.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to talk about like how I remember a newspaper from like 30 years ago.
Yeah, that must have went out.
How the fuck?
Transcripts, I assume, is still going. It's probably just like slim pickings on what you get.
Yeah. Trying to see if I can find like when you search Medford Mercury for images on Google, it doesn't it gives you some other random Mercury that I don't know. It doesn't say what town it was. Oh, it's Sheffield. It's there's something that exists currently in the UK called the Mercury.
I might be able to figure this out. So, Library of Congress.gov
Yeah.
has the Medford transcript, Medford, Mass, 1990 to 2021. Uh, gives you the about notes combined with the Somerville Journal to become the transcript and journal. Um, I might be able to find it here.
They have pictures.
No, just let me search. Medford Mercury.
That's funny.
Oh boy. I don't know what this thing was. Um, Medford Historical Reg. That's not it. I don't need Oregon.
Yeah, that's the hard thing, right? Is it's how are you going to be able to figure out?
Yeah, Oregon, New Jersey. Like,
Yeah,
that doesn't help me.
but that's the thing. I specifically remember.
I remember the
uh,
Mercury too. I just don't know what I'd have to ask my mother. She'll know.
I know there were red boxes at the top and the writing was in blue. That's all I can remember.
Yeah, that might take some real work to figure out because that might have been like defunct like fairly long time ago.
Yeah,
Like at least if you want info on the Medford transcript, like it did run for a long
right,
time.
right.
Like the Mercury might have like stopped running before people were like, "Hey, maybe we should like,
Maybe we should scan these and make them
yeah,
digital.
scan these or we should at least acknowledge that these existed."
Yeah. Or when they put everything into like microfiche, that's a whole thing. That's like those little random tiny basically like film, right? Like an undeveloped film. Like you put that a microfiche into like a machine and then you like spin it and it's almost like an arcade game, right? And it flips the picture up on the screen and you like turn the dial on the side and it just keeps like changing the picture through the microfiche. That's a whole thing. That's old. Someone out there listening is like, "Oh my God, microfiche. I haven't seen that in 40 years." It's like, yeah, it's because it's old and fucking stupid. But yeah, I can't find anything on Google. Because then there's like the San Jose Mercury and
No.
the Daily Mercury in London again or wherever the fuck. So
Is that what it was? Was it a daily?
yeah, it was
Yeah,
called
normal.
the Medford Daily Mercury was like
Oh,
the
see,
actual name of it. But then there's like Medford, Minnesota, which I didn't know. I knew there was a Medford in
oh, dude, it's
Oregon and New
hey,
Jersey, but
I found it.
oh, you did?
Medford Daily Mercury. I don't have a picture, but it stopped in 2017.
Wow, that is oddly later than I would have expected it to go.
I don't know if it was still daily by then though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I found the Wikipedia page. I'm looking for like a photo of the actual newspaper. It was founded in 1880 and it stopped in 2017.
But I think so according to Library of Congress, it stopped like actual real publication in 1989. So I don't know what they were doing for those other years. There was probably some type of merger
Yeah. Well,
or
it combined in 2003 with the Malden Evening News.
yeah, so probably change into something else.
Yeah.
That's good to know though. From 2007 to 2012, people were still asking me about the oh God, you got the Mercury? It's been out of print for 15 years.
Yeah. Did the Mercury come in today? No, but I got the transcript.
Yeah, that's what they were asking for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nuts that there used to be so many different newspapers. And they were all like relatively successful. And like they lasted from 1880 to 2000. Like
Well,
that's
it's because
120
for a
years.
long time, that was the go-to.
Right. Now we just have Twitter.
Which is just awful.
Yeah. But it's great for finding out news. Like like World War III. That's gonna happen.
I feel like we've done this before.
Yeah, it was 2020, actually. It was that remember that the
Was
opening
that
few
before
months of
before or
2020?
after Australia was on fire?
I think it was after Australia. I think Australia was actually, you know what? I think I wrote this down once upon a time for the podcast. Yeah. Oh no, that's how we started out the year. So in 2020, I actually have a note on my phone. So 2020 was World War III, right? In January. I forget what we were saying was going to be World War III though. Like I forget like what the countries were. Like I literally just wrote down World War III, January. February, Australia was on fire. Um, I also have these are just bullet points that I have for each month. So February, Australia was on fire. Iowa caucus delayed, maybe a tie.
Oh,
I don't know what
okay.
that means. Yeah, I don't really know what that means. March, Syria bombed Turkey. Tornado crushes Nashville. U.S. shuts down by coronavirus. And then the last bullet point is Italy killed by coronavirus.
Oh, true.
Yeah, because like all of Italy just got murked. Um, oh, this is good. This is funny. I'm actually really glad I wrote all this down. So then we get to April. Kim Jong Un. Then there's a comma. First death. So Kim Jong Un died for the first time in April. We got the stimulus package. Then we had shelter in place. Aliens are real, which takes us into May. There were Hong Kong protests. Then we had murder hornets. And then there was George Floyd was in May. So then into June, we have BLM protests, and then we have World War III Take Two, which is China versus India. So we don't know what the first iteration was, but the second iteration in June was China versus India. Then we have locusts in India, and then we have Joe Biden announced as president in June. July, we had the bubonic plague is back. Ghislaine Maxwell. Sports came back. And then we had the Wayfair trafficking scandal
Oh
where
yeah, they
everyone
were
was,
selling
yeah,
wardrobes as children or some shit.
yeah, yeah. Then we get August and it says Jacob Blake, which I vaguely remember, but like I don't really remember what that was.
I don't either.
The Beirut explosion. That's right. That was it was a
Oh,
fertilizer
fertilizer.
factory. Yeah, in Beirut. More California fires. And then
That's not
September,
really news though.
yeah, no. September we had the wildfires spread to Oregon. Uh, oh, that's a weird one. I don't remember this. They said there was life on Venus potentially. Um, Breonna Taylor, I do remember that one. And then Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. So then we get October. Trump gets COVID. Walter Wallace shooting. I don't remember that one. Vietnam gets crushed by floods and storms. And then giant earthquake in Turkey. November, the only bullet point we have is election. And then December was explosion in Nashville. I think I remember that. I think that was that Christmas or like the day before
Yeah, it
Christmas.
was around then.
Yeah. Then we have new strains in India, and then we have cyber attack by Russia. And that's your 2020 by bullet points.
Funny, the world hasn't gotten any better.
Yeah. It's funny too, right? Because one of those like I feel like people are pretty quick to look and be like, oh, it's this now is the craziest time ever, or whatever. And it's like, is it? Or like, are you just caught up in the moment?
Well, I'll
Because
say to be fair, we have a register of 2020. We don't have a register of 2021, 2022, anything like that. I'm
right,
sure, like especially when it's like, oh, earthquake in India. It's like, okay, I know you were like keeping track, so that
yeah,
like that's why that happened that way. But like there was an earthquake in New Jersey like last weekend.
right, right.
So, um, but I think especially that start of the year when it went World War III, Australia was on fire, COVID, and then the murder hornets. And the only reason the murder hornets were relevant is of when they showed up.
Yeah.
And then everything else after that, you could just attribute to like normal variants, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're back on World War III.
Yeah. Which means probably not, right? Because we had two World War threes in 2020 alone, and we didn't
So
actually get a World War
We had two
three.
World War threes in 2020 with a Syrian attack in between them.
Right. Yeah, and Syria bombed Turkey.
Like,
Yeah. So everyone's like, "Oh, get ready for World War three," and it's like, yeah, probably not. Probably not, right? I mean, let's be real. It's probably not going to lead to World War
yeah.
three. But it's I think it's funny because people just get so captured in the moment, right? Of like, oh my God, this is so bad. This is the worst thing that's ever happened. It's like, well, this dumbass podcast that I know with two dum dums that are the hosts kept bullet points on the year 2020, and there were three potential opportunities for World War III in 2020 alone, and nothing happened.
Right. And then like even like 3 year Letterman doing his thing, and people like, why don't when you get drafted, you won't be making jokes. It's like, oh, we're doing that again too. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, which also like we're now too old. like we like if there was a conscription, which there
Dude,
wouldn't be, we're too old. I
there
think it's
hasn't been a
18 to 25.
there hasn't been a draft in almost 60 years.
Yeah, and there won't be another one.
60
Yeah,
almost. I want to say the last draft was like 69. That's probably when it started, but
yeah. So yeah, I mean, everyone's like, "Oh, here comes World War III." It's like
here it comes. Watch out.
I would love. This would take more research, but to just do like a quick dive into like the internet, or you could probably do this on Twitter and find out every time someone claimed that World War III was about to start in like the last 20 years. I would have to imagine there's probably at least 20 instances, right? I feel like once a year, roughly, is probably a good average because we had three just in 2020 alone, right? So, like in the last 20 years, you figure there's roughly 20 instances where people say, right? Because I'm sure people said it about Ukraine and Russia when that started in whatever that was, 2022. Now people are saying it again, right? So it's like it's got to happen on average like once a year.
Yeah. So I mean, even I guess Nostradamus does a fucking prediction every year. Well, so I mean, literally by math, there is a World War III prediction every single year because this idiot fucking predicts one.
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, so far people are talking. I mean, obviously I'm using Google. Like people have been talking about it 22, 23, 24. We know 2020. Maybe 2021 we skirted. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that math checks because again, there were three opportunities in 2020. So that's going to cover you for 2 other years to still keep that once a year average.
Um,
Yeah. I also think it's kind of funny too, now that I'm just thinking of it, kind of a callback to the beginning of the episode a little bit. When people talk about like, oh, the times are crazy, whatever, it's never been so crazy. We literally opened the show talking about OJ Simpson being the biggest trial in our generation, right? Since 1980. And then in that same decade, within like a 4 year span, there was OJ and then there was Clinton.
yeah, I would argue those are two pretty significant
And there was also
stories.
the Gulf War, right? Which was 93, 92, 93. I think was the first Gulf War. I mean, it literally only lasted about 3 weeks, but still,
Yeah,
like,
I would actually even say revisionist history would dictate a murderer getting away with it.
yeah.
and the president of the United States involved in a sexual assault case. Um, Pretty fucking crazy if you ask me.
Yeah, I would
And
say so.
then if you fast forward, because now we have 20 years on that, 30 years on that. Fuck, my math sucks. Bill Clinton is like regarded as like awesome. And
Yeah, he literally he got impeached.
OJ is split. Like some people think he's great, and I'd say it's almost 50-50, maybe 60-40. 40% think he's cool and great, and 60% are like biggest piece of shit on the planet.
Right.
Um, it's odd that that would even be a split. The guy murdered two people, got away with it, kind of laid low for a long time, wrote a book about, well, if I did it, here's how I would do it.
Yeah. Went to
And
jail
went to
for
jail on
for
aggravated
theft.
assault over merchandise,
Yeah.
got out of jail, and then was like, hey, Twitter world, like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
Yeah, that's quite the trajectory.
Yeah. I mean, now's definitely the dumbest time to be alive,
Well, yeah,
as
obviously.
evidenced by just very simple. It's not gonna be final. Just very simple. Uh, Driving to your place yesterday, you almost got a text from me saying, "Fuck this place. This is insane. Traffic all the way down 138."
Oh, really?
Fire truck. So everyone pulls over. Some white fucking SUV with Rhode Island plates is following the fire truck. Not on like the highway where people can change lanes, get in lanes, whatever. On a fucking two-way road, like driving down the middle of the fucking street, like almost getting hit because people are pulling out and they can't see them, whatever. Like, what in the fuck are these people doing?
Yeah,
Dumbest time to be alive.
I agree.
Craziest, debatable.
Yeah.
Also, the Revolutionary War was pretty fucking crazy, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'd say when dudes had teeth that were made out of lead and wool.
Civil War. How
Yeah.
about this? You don't want to, you don't, actually, the Revolutionary War, crazy time to be alive, makes a lot of sense. That king's an asshole. We're moving on. Civil War. We're
Yeah.
going to fight within our own country over owning other human beings.
Yeah. Yeah. Was that 1865? I would say that's
About that,
probably the
160 years
craziest
ago.
time. Yep.
That's a fucking wild occurrence.
Yeah. Yeah.
To sit there and be like, no, we're going to fight the rest of you people because we want to continue to own human beings.
Yep.
And then for those human beings to really not have like many good rights until 100 years later,
Yeah. Yeah.
shit's always been
Yikes.
crazy. Things are just
Right.
dumb now.
Right. Yeah, I think it's all just people's perceptions of things are like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever, right? It's the same or similar, it's a similar argument. It's not the same, but it is similar to the whole sports thing, right? Like, you know, uh, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, the greatest to ever play the game. All right. Well, then 6 years later, Michael Jordan comes. Oh, he's the greatest to ever play the game. And then 15 years after Jordan, LeBron comes. Oh, he's the greatest to ever play the game. Right. And it's like you have these people that just argue, and it's like, well, just because they're the greatest of your generation doesn't mean that they're the greatest of all time. Right. And it's like, what are your criteria and things like that. So, um, yeah, it's same idea. But um, all that being said, you want to wrap this up?
We can wrap this up.
All
So,
right.
anyone that's been listening long enough knows that seemingly normal tasks are not fucking easy for me to accomplish. The latest one started on March 8th. It was reconciled yesterday. So, my aunt emails my mother, forwarded to me, telling me that my grandmother had a CD at a bank and it was payable on death to me. It doesn't go through the estate, it goes to me. She goes, I spoke with X person. and he just needs to show up with a license, and he can get a check for the amount. Uh, he doesn't need a death certificate; they already have it. Okay, so I get that email, and it just so happens on that day it works. Now, obviously, looking at it, the closest branch location, Waltham. Great.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So drive up to Waltham and go in. Lady has no fucking clue what I'm talking about. I'm like, great. I go, well, this is the person my aunt named her. She goes, oh, okay. She's in the main office. I'll call her. So she goes, oh, she's with the customer right now. I go, I'll hang. I go, here's my cell phone. I go, I might take off. Like, I want to go to Carl's, get a steak and cheese, whatever.
Yeah. Oh,
I go,
fucking love Carl's.
I'll hang. If I do disappear, just call me and I'll come right back. I go, I won't go far. So hanging around, woman calls back. Okay. I like kind of poke my head. I go, any luck? She goes, oh, she's going to look into it. Right. So I'm still sitting there and calls back. I'm like, okay, this is like a 45-minute process at this point.
Yeah.
She goes, yeah, we need the death certificate. I go, great. She goes, but I am seeing you as the beneficiary now. I didn't see that at first. I go, awesome. So I'm fucking pissed, right?
Yeah.
Because at this point, it's either like my aunt got bad info and gave it to me, or just gave me bad info. I don't know which one. Doesn't matter.
Right. Right.
So I leave. I call my mother. I'm like, listen, I need a death certificate. I go, you got to talk. She goes, oh, well, I might have one here. She goes, let me look. She's like fumbling around. At this point, I've forgotten to go to Carl's because I was so pissed. So missed opportunity on that as well.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, fucking dumbass. So my mother's like, oh, I got to, oh, she goes, I have a death certificate here. I go, I'll come up on Saturday because there's another branch in Medford, but I'm like, I'll just come up. I'll come up on Saturday. Fine. So I roll into Medford the next week and I go to the teller, and the teller's like, oh, well, this CD hasn't reached maturity yet. I go, what the fuck? She goes, you're going
Jesus
to have to go
Christ.
talk to him. I go, here we go. And then he looks at it and he's like, yeah, it hasn't reached maturity yet. I'm like, dude, I did not like, I go, the woman in Waltham told me I just needed a death certificate and we're good. He goes, well, do you have it? I go, yep, here you go. And he goes, do you have an original? I go, fuck me.
Jesus Christ.
My mother gave me a copy.
Yeah.
She doesn't have an original.
Right.
He goes, yeah, I need the original. I'm like, fuck off. Okay. So with the way the work schedule goes, gotta wait 2 weeks. So in the meantime, my aunt sends my mother a death certificate. She's got the real one now. Go back to Medford. And he give him the death certificate, give him the license. And he's like, he goes, wait. He goes, the dates don't line up on this. I go, what dates?
Yeah.
He goes, well, you were added as a beneficiary in March, but she died in July. I was like, okay. He goes, oh, I'm going to have to call on this. I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Jesus Christ.
So the original woman that's at the center of this whole thing doesn't answer. So he calls some other fucking guy. And that guy's like, oh, well, we're going to have to look into those dates and figure this out. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me again.
Yeah.
So I leave again. And last week, I call and I try to get in touch with the original lady, like whoever this was. I'm on hold fucking forever. The teller at the branch is trying to figure it out, but I'm like, good luck because you're not going to
Yeah.
be able to figure this out.
Yeah.
Then the woman pops on the phone and she goes, yep, I just like took care. You're all set. I go, okay. I go, I'm not going this weekend. I go, I'm going next weekend. And I go, if I go to Medford, is there going to be a problem? She goes, nope, you are all good. Okay.
Did you find out about the dates from her? Like, why did the people in Medford say,
So we'll get
yeah.
to that.
All right.
So then Friday comes, and I call West Medford. Now, I've met with this guy twice. I'm not expecting you to remember me. But when I call, he's like, "Wait, what's the product?" I go, "Dude, you fucking turned me away twice."
Yeah.
I go, "I have a CD. Came to see you twice." "Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. You're all good." He goes, "I spoke to whoever. Like, you're good." I go, "Do you need anything else?" He goes, "Nope." Okay. Go in Saturday, run into him, and he goes, what's the he goes, "What?" He was like, "Wait, what do we have to do?" I go, "Dude, for the third time." He goes, "Oh, sorry." He goes, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "I've seen you twice. I called you yesterday,
Yeah.
and you still don't fucking like." I'm like, "You don't
Yeah.
again, you don't have to remember me," but I'm like, "Motherfucker." And I was waiting for him to try to be like, "Oh, well, we can open an account today." It's like, why would I ever do that?
Yeah.
I go,
Yep.
not only are all these locations super inconvenient to me, I go, why would I after this experience? So finally get the check, finally close out the account. We are all good. So that spanned from March 8th to April 13th. It took me 4 trips and 2 phone calls for something that originally was supposed to be just show up with a license, you're all good.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
didn't get fucking Carl's at when it's all said and done.
Ugh.
Now I also didn't go back to Waltham, but
Right. Right.
and like the other thing too is like some people, oh, how much it was an amount of money that I couldn't not go get.
Right. Right.
Like it's not like it was like $68. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, seemingly normal tasks cannot fucking get done.
Of course not. Right. It's just how things work.
This is just me. This is just how it goes.
Yep. Totally understand that. All right. Well, my final thought is about the movie Roadhouse. Have you ever seen the original?
If I have, it was a million years ago.
Yeah, same. So I don't the only thing I should say I remember about the original Roadhouse obviously was Swayze, right? And he was like a bouncer in New York City that gets scooped up and taken to like Oklahoma or something to like take care of some riffraff at a bar or something. I don't know. It's very vaguely remember. And like the big thing is like he rips some dude's throat out, right? And he's like all fucked up about it in a fight. Um, and then, at the end of the movie, he rips the other dude's throat out again and kills him, whatever. That's really all I remember from the original. So we watched the remake, Amy and I, with Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor. I don't know, maybe last weekend, I think. And so again, I didn't really remember much of the original Roadhouse, so I wasn't sitting there like comparing it, being like, "Oh, this isn't the same," or this is different," or whatever. Um, but overall, I thought it was a pretty solid movie, actually. I enjoyed it. I think Conor McGregor was a just a jackass, right? Because it's kind of like who he is in real life too. Um, but it was a pretty solid like action fighting movie type of deal where I was like, oh yeah, that was good. Like it was one of those like, oh, I would totally watch that again. Um, and I enjoyed it. Again, I wasn't sitting there like comparing it to the original either because I didn't remember it. Um, but I think it was pretty good. So if it's free right now to watch on Amazon Prime. So if you have Prime and you want to kill like 2 hours, the new Roadhouse is a pretty solid movie. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Thought it was pretty good. I mean, I like Jake Gyllenhaal too. I think he's a good actor. Um, so yeah, check it out. But that is going to do it for us. So thank you for watching. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to click subscribe up above. Hit the thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you're an audio only guy. Spread the word. Leave a review on Apple and Spotify if you listen over there. You get us on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks. Uh, Sarcasm Speaks Pod, I think. Twitter is sarcasm_speaks. Facebook is sarcasm speaks. Website sarcasmspeaks.com. Go to the merch store, buy some merch, and then take a peek in the show notes below and support the sponsors down there. You get all your links and discount codes and coupons and all kinds of stuff for some cool products down there. So check those out. And that is going to do it for us. Until next time, good night, everybody.